Man, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of EOS. It's 1090 Jake, man. I'm rocking with y'all rocking with me. And for this video, we're going to be speaking on DK, one of YSL's co-founders, who recently pled guilty and also testified in another case.
You're facing a tough challenge now. How are you going to get through that?
The same way I got through everything else with God and my faith.
With the news of Gunna's plea deal casting a temporary shadow over the rest of the YSL case, an actual member and admitted co-founder of YSL has also pled guilty. 31-year-old Walter Murphy, who is more commonly known throughout Atlanta as DK, has also been released after pleading guilty to one count of violating Georgia's RICO Act. But unlike Gunna, DK has even stronger ties to the alleged gang and a violent criminal history. Within the YSL indictment, DK would be listed as having committed 10 acts in furtherance of YSL, including 2 shootings and even tattooing YSL on his forehead. Back in September of 2013, according to court transcripts, 2 brothers were on their way home when a black male wearing a red shirt and black shorts approached their vehicle saying, "You already know what time it is," as he aimed a handgun demanding money. That's when he fired a single round into the floor of the car between the victim's legs when the 2 brothers got out of the car and ran. It just so happened 3 police officers were inside of a neighboring apartment within the complex on a separate investigation when they heard the shot. One officer ran to the parking lot, witnessing the suspect wearing a red shirt run and jump into a Nissan with 2 other men. Another officer jumped in front of the Nissan demanding the 3 men exit the vehicle at gunpoint, but the Nissan drove past, almost hitting the officer before crashing into an unmarked police vehicle. The officer would open fire shooting into DK's getaway vehicle as DK and another man shot back before a short high-speed chase would end when the suspects crashed into a laundromat. The initial victim from the robbery claimed he'd been robbed and DK was found in possession of exactly $970, the amount reported stolen. DK and his accomplice had been shot and were transported to the hospital while the getaway driver was uninjured and gave a statement to police. He claimed the victim was a drug dealer and they planned to rob him. He further claimed the police vehicle was unmarked and all he knew was the car drove up and started shooting, so he drove off while DK and the other man were shot in the back seat. 3 guns were found in the getaway vehicle, 2 of which had been fired during the exchange in gunfire with police. Investigators would soon learn the victim, Derek Dotson, had actually dated DK's cousin, and DK wasn't robbing him, but confronting him on the money he was shorted. A few months later, Derek had shot at DK and pistol whipped his child's mother in a parking lot. According to DK's court transcripts, it states DK and his child's mother both testified against Derek Dotson in Clayton County Court, and further states DK has been talking to Atlanta police about some important matters. He's been doing right. Derek Dotson would die by alleged suicide before trial in his case. While still going to court for the shooting, DK would be out on bond when in April of 2015, he fired a rifle at 4 men, striking 1 in the head. The man would luckily survive, but be permanently disfigured as a large portion of his skull had to be removed. For whatever reason, the details of this case have been sealed. DK would take an alpha plea in his first case and was sentenced to 15 years in prison, was given 7 months time served, and only had to serve 18 months in prison while the remainder of his sentence was to be on probation. In his second shooting, DK pled guilty and was sentenced to 25 years, having to serve 8 in prison, followed by 12 years of probation and a 5-year suspended sentence. The majority of crimes committed within the YSL case were committed while DK was serving time in prison, and DK was currently on parole before being indicted. But while his lawyer tries to portray DK as having already served his time like a man, previous court transcripts clearly state DK had some type of interaction with police going on way back in 2013, and even testified with his child's mother after being shot at while she was pistol whipped. But in this indictment, DK would admit in court he, alongside Young Thug and another man, founded YSL back in 2012. While we don't have actual footage of what all DK admitted to in court like we do with Gunna, we can only assume he agreed to much of the same as far as YSL being a gang and Young Thug being a founder. DK would plead guilty to violating Georgia's RICO Act and be sentenced to 10 years with 1 year time served and the remaining 9 years to be served on probation. As part of his plea deal, he has agreed to testify truthfully in any further trial as it may become necessary. DK is also required to perform 300 hours of community service, and his probation will be terminated after 5 years. So much like Gunna, as long as DK is willing to testify when asked, he will remain free, while the prosecutor's grip only strengthens on the main man they wish to punish in the YSL indictment. Now obviously, common sense isn't very fucking common. You have people saying, Gunna didn't snitch, he just admitted YSL is a gang. Gunna didn't snitch, he just admitted that he knows YSL gang members committed crimes on behalf of YSL. Gunna isn't a snitch. When asked if the gun and the drugs in the car when him and Young Thug were pulled over was his, he said no. Gunna's not a snitch. He just walked out of a fucking RICO with the year served and the rest on probation, agreeing to testify if asked, right? So what are we gonna say about DK? DK has been convicted of 2 separate shootings, knocked the fucking memory out of this dude's head. You can see a portion of his head is gone, and no disrespect to bro, but it's like, obviously he's trying to cover it with the dreads. I understand he doesn't have the money to get the fucking metal implant, the pretend skull that you can get. But you done knocked the consciousness out this man with a fucking rifle in a previous case. And now you walk out with a year served in a RICO, sentenced to 9 years probation, with the probation terminated in 5 years, and nobody's gonna think DK's telling on nobody? Y'all are gonna think, nah, yeah, he kept it solid. Motherfuckers is just not getting in trouble for RICOs. So Young Thug should be straight, right? Because if these dudes are getting off like that, Thug's gonna get, what, 15 years, but time served, and he's just got 10 years on probation? Like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Gunna had to admit to things before he could walk out. Same thing with DK. DK had to admit he was a co-founder in YSL. He was an accused co-founder, but now he's actually admitted it. And we don't know what else he had to admit. I'm assuming it's much of the same thing, but he's definitely a key component in this case because he's gonna solidify the origins of YSL. But the most interesting thing about DK is the fact that in his first shooting, his own lawyer brought up to the courts, in court transcripts, look, DK was previously attacked by the alleged robbery victim in a separate incident. He was shot at, his baby mama got pistol whipped, and both of them went to court to testify against the alleged victim of this robbery. Now, the alleged victim died before trial, so you know, according to that, you're gonna say, oh, DK didn't snitch. Dude died before trial. He went and testified with his baby mama. But not only that, the lawyer said DK was having interactions with the police back in 2013 and obviously did not want to expose what those interactions were, but he hinted at it was a pretty big thing. YSL was created in 2012. DK was having these talks with police in 2013. These court transcripts weren't actually recorded until 2016 when that case ended. So from 13 to 16, what the fuck was DK talking to police about? I'm gonna let y'all think about that. It's 1090 Jake. I'm rocking with y'all, y'all rocking with me. Till next time.